This week's episode of This Is Only a Test is made possible by you, our dedicated listeners. It's your listening and subscription to this podcast that allows us to not only get together and share with you our thoughts every week, but also make a bunch of our other videos. And I want to give a special shout out to those of you who are members of the Tested Premium community. If you aren't a member yet, head over to tested.com/membership and learn about this year's free gift, a poster drawing by Adam of his last spacesuit, as well as our other great content. Thanks so much for listening. On with the show. Hey, let's start the show. For Thursday, March 7th, 2019, welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com.
When you said you wanted to give a special shout out, I thought you were going to give a special shout out to like one guy.
No.
You know, like Jason Wachowski. We really appreciate your backing, Tested, especially.
Hey, I can do it. I can find out who our members are and thank you all if you would like that. But that would be quite many number of you I need to be thanking. But we have begun the podcast, and you heard him. It's Jeremy Williams back after a week away. We did a dual cast last week.
Yeah.
And so Jeremy's back. Happy belated birthday, Jeremy.
Thanks, Norm. Appreciate that.
Yeah, happy birthday.
And joining us, Kishore's not in this week, so we have Zach Raddick. Zach, so glad you could make it.
I'm glad I could make it as well.
This is
not that you guys can't handle the duocast. Like I listened, it was good.
We had talked about it because 2 weeks ago it was just Kishore and Jeremy.
Yeah.
And then last week it was me and Kishore, and then we thought of rounding things out and doing one with just Jeremy and me. But we thought, let's take this podcast an extra nerdy level and bring in
an
Zach
uber
Raddick,
nerd.
an uber nerd. I mean, before we started recording, we were futzing with our headphones, and there was a hum. There is still a hum. And Zach was able to identify the frequency of that hum.
That's what all hums are these days, is 60 hertz, right?
Yeah.
Like, everybody knows that. I'm not that nerdy. Yeah.
It was pretty amazing. How are both of you doing? How was your week off, Jeremy? What'd you do?
I had a birthday, and I had a great birthday because I spent the evening taking my eldest, my 12-year-old boy, to see Hamilton.
Whoa, in San Francisco.
That's right, and I got the shirt.
The Hamil tour.
To prove it. And
nice.
It's their first time back in the city. Have you seen the show?
I have not. I'm like the only person that hasn't.
Well, you're the only person in this room that hasn't.
Oh, yeah.
Norm and I both saw it when it was first year 2 years ago. Totally new cast now. This is the cast that actually played with Lin-Manuel in Puerto Rico.
Nice.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then they left, and now they're starting the tour. They'll be here for 6 months.
Wow. How was this performance compared to the last one? So you've seen two rotating casts.
It was great. I mean, it was great. Some people put their own twist on things in a way that I thought was interesting. The guy who plays Hamilton, plays it a little different than the last guy that I saw. And how I imagine Lin-Manuel was playing it, he starts out a little more unsure of himself in a way, and then he grows confidence over the course of the play, which is what you actually makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense for the character. But all the performances were great. And it was just great taking my son to see it because he knew every word. You know, he's been listening to the soundtrack for a year now, and just like reciting it, and it's amazing how much he's learned. And for him to actually go and see the performance was exciting for both of us.
Or someone of his age, does he associate the lyrics and the songs with the original cast? A lot of people, because they know it's a unique musical, like you associate it, whether it's Lin-Manuel or
I was worried about that.
Yeah, Daffy Diggs, they own the roles, they created the roles, and I think the first time I saw it, there are archetypes for the characters they cast to fit into those roles. But I think there's a lot that you don't see in just listening to the soundtrack. You don't see visually that still makes the show worth seeing.
It's like seeing a movie and then reading the book. Like you hear the voices of the person in the movie in the book. Like you associate the two.
At the intermission, I was wondering, like, that's when I'd first get to talk to him, and I was worried, like, does he want to go home? Does he not like it? It's not the same as the soundtrack that he knows. But no, he turned to me and said, "This is amazing. This is great."
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so it was good. It was definitely good. It was, all around good show. Good show.
Very good. Very good. You do anything other fun things? You're kind of like booked the whole week. I think I did see you on Thursday. You'd come by to behold the baby.
I went to my first red egg and ginger celebration,
Yes.
which is, are you familiar with the red egg
No,
and ginger?
tell me about this.
It is a celebration in the Chinese tradition where after the baby it turns 100 days, you
Okay.
get together with friends and family and you celebrate the life of the baby. And the baby is
like that.
formally introduced to the community. And so we got to meet Norm's baby. And that was the first time that I'd met him. I was sadly, I realized I'd never made it up because I was sick and I never made it over to your house.
Yep.
And then I finally got to see him.
It was a whole thing.
Yeah.
And there were like 100 people there.
It was the whole thing.
It was a whole thing. It was a...
There was more food than you could possibly imagine.
That
many,
sounds right.
Many
That's
courses,
as it should be.
Banquets, a full-blown banquet. Have you had a meal like that before?
No,
that kind of
no.
banquet meal?
But I was sitting next to our friend Steve Lynn, who was prepping me for everything that was about to happen.
Yeah, got to eat that abalone.
Yeah.
The delicious delicacy of abalone. And the baby, of course, performed. Everyone got to see his wide range of emotions and his lungs.
Entrances and exits.
Oh, my goodness. There was at one point where we were trying to get him settled, and I had to make my way through the tables, and I was trying to see how many tables I could get in before him erupting. I didn't get past a single table. I'm like, it was like a
Welcome to
video game,
fatherhood.
right? I needed to reset the backup until I
At
fell asleep.
one point, one of Norm's friends brought their baby, and Norm said, "Can I just borrow your baby?"
Nobody will know the difference.
Jeremy's never met him before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zach, how are things going with you?
Good. Busy as always. Got some fun projects going, and
Secret projects.
some
things you
secret,
can't-
some not so secret. But
What are the technologies you're working with?
let's see. Mostly these days, big batteries. That's a big fun one. Some big motor controllers. Also working on a tool for my shop, putting together a plasma cutter.
Nice. Is this a different CNC plasma cutter?
CNC plasma cutter. So similar to like the router that we use to do Star Lords, and I do all sorts of stuff
Big
on.
gantry system.
Big gantry, but this, instead of using a spinning tool, this uses plasma. So it's an arc and air and melts
pool
metal.
of water underneath.
Yep, exactly, to
and-
catch all the slag.
Now,
Yeah.
last time I learned what plasma was, I was in high school.
Yeah.
And they told me that it was a fourth state of matter.
Yeah.
Is that the case still?
I mean, sure. I don't think I've changed physics at all, but
What can it cut that a laser cannot?
well, so you can get lasers that can cut through steel. They're many hundreds, if not thousands of watts that it takes to do that. But this is a sort of a lower cost, lower barrier to entry way of cutting steel that isn't quite as clean and slick as a laser cutter would be cutting steel. But it gives you, 90 or 80% of the sort of abilities of being able to cut material, cut it pretty fast with, minimal cleanup at the end. I mean, it's sort of like it's not as slick as your laser cutter that you're used to, as far as you just cut it out and go.
Yeah.
This has some drop and some stuff to kind of like grind off, but it's still really, really good.
How
It
thick?
punches a hole, right? It punches a hole, and then the arc kind of drags along.
Exactly. Yeah.
That hole to shear the metal.
Yeah, exactly. And basically, I mean, the technology is just, heat it up with electricity and then blow air at it so that it just kind of pushes through the other side. Like, it's kind of an archaic technology for doing what it does.
You
but
heat
it's
up the whole metal sheet?
No, just at a very, very small spot
it.
with an arc. So it's very focused, but it's been around for a long time, though, sort of modern power electronics and technology has really made it accessible and inexpensive for, to get going. It's pretty slick.
How thick can you cut?
It's more based on how much time you want to spend. Like the power unit that I have is rated, I think, for like half an inch. So
Holy
it can
cow.
go, I mean,
Of steel.
Of steel. Yeah. So any ferrous material, or conductive, actually doesn't have to be ferrous. It can be conductive. So, copper, aluminum, steel, anything that conducts electricity, it can cut.
So are all plasma cutters essentially the same power? Like laser cutters are rated with wattage. Is this voltage? Is this?
There's different powers as well. So mine is a 45 amp. Just similar to like a laser would be wattage, but it's basically the same kind of rating.
that's a lot of power draw.
It is. I mean, it takes a lot of power to do that, but it is really focused, just like a laser. I mean, in a way that it's just concentrating that energy, it's melting that material. So it's one more tool in my toolbox.
That is cool. The CNC router parts, CNC machine we had built over at Frank's shop 2 years ago now. was both CNC and plasma cutter in one gantry. You
pretty
swap
slick.
out
Yeah.
the axis.
I thought about doing that because a lot of the parts are the same,
Yeah.
but I'm just thinking sawdust and fire is kind of a bad combo. So I'm keeping them in separate rooms.
Wow.
Good for you.
You got the space.
I have some space.
Awesome. And I'm sure as we're going to talk to the podcast, we'll hear more about other things you're working with.
Sure.
Hey, also, it is our 490th episode.
490th.
490th.
Yes.
We are 10 episodes away.
Moments away.
Countdown to 500. I think at this pace,
2.5
we will
months.
be exactly in May. We'll have our 500th episode.
Okay.
I feel like every episode should be a special occasion.
I think you need a banquet now.
That's episode when we get to episode 500, maybe
Yeah.
maybe a 500 course banquet.
Can
or
we get
something.
Will and Gary back in here?
I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
I'm gonna book them now for May.
Do it.
But I feel like if we're counting down to 10, we should do something special every episode.
Oh.
Nothing this episode because we haven't planned for it yet.
Yeah.
But maybe best moments. I don't know the
All right.
history. That's a lot of hours of podcasting, of talking in front of a mic. Yeah.
I have a list of things in my phone. I have a notes file called Things That Annoy Me,
Oh,
and I could reveal one every week.
wait, just in life?
Yeah.
Why do you have that? It's like a therapeutic thing.
Yes. Yeah. Because I actually thought it might make an interesting podcast segment once I amassed enough of them.
How many?
Oh.
How many are
Yeah.
there?
I'll come up with some more.
I think as long as you have an audio intro, it could totally work.
That's what it needs.
yeah, it just
Things-
needs. That's all it needs.
All right. For you out there, for those of you who make the awesome theme music for our segments, we
Justin,
need a
aka
new,
Speed.
Yes, we need new theme music.
Yeah.
Things that annoy me. Can you say
Here you go.
things that annoy me?
Here's a soundbite. Things that annoy me.
Love it. So good.
I'm gonna pull that out at its own separate
Okay.
track and
All right.
and put that online. Wow. Is the idea that you want to over time these things will no longer annoy you because you've grown as a person?
Sometimes
kinda take
I
them
just
off the
think
list?
talking about them helps, just getting it out. And maybe, because there are things that I think you could help me understand, because I don't understand why they happen. And people,
Can we get a preview?
people- no. I don't want to waste one. I don't have enough. I've maybe just enough to get to May.
All right. So you're so fewer than 10. Okay.
No,
so
maybe this time.
your task, Jeremy, is then to rank them
Okay.
into
Oh,
things
that's a
that
good idea.
annoy you the least to the
the
most, and we'll go.
All right.
for
Okay, by the
things-
end of this podcast, we need at least one for the end. The last segment will be just give us a hint.
All right. We'll see.
All right.
Should we move on?
This is gonna be too personal. All right, let's go.
Top story this week.
We're actually recording this episode early this week on a Monday, even though most of you will be listening to this Thursday or later. But that doesn't mean there's any shortage of news breaking or news, although there could be just a lot more stuff that happens in the next 3 days. We had the biggest thing that happened, the thing we've been waiting for, a lot of people have been waiting for, the $35,000 Tesla Model 3 has been announced.
This is the promised price of the car to begin with.
I was gonna say, it was announced years ago.
Yes,
But-
I guess the availability
Yes.
is now announced.
Which was a surprise, right? I didn't see this coming.
You think it would be later? People have been waiting for this for so long.
I just didn't expect it now.
I just thought it was vapor. Like I didn't actually. That's
And I think that's a lot of people were suspecting that, right? Obviously, last year was a big year for the launch of this Model 3. It's kind of shot up to the charts on EVs, changed the landscape, really, of our roads, especially in big cities. We see
Absolutely.
them everywhere now in the Bay Area. And they had announced a intermediate model, a standard range model, to get between that 310 and 220. I think it was a 260 mile range model. And so there's some speculation that the $35,000 car would be very limited quantities, that it would just be maybe available just almost on paper.
just to prove that they did
Just
it.
to prove that they did it, but you'd be put on a long waiting list, or that it just wouldn't be really reasonable, because with their higher end cars, you're kind of forced to choose the premium package, like all the accessories and
Right.
all the
There was no
add-ons.
choice.
Yeah, right. If you wanted to get it. So I guess the early adopter period is over. And this could signal a couple of things for Tesla. It could signal that their manufacturing is they're more confident in it, and we talked about last week how Consumer Reports had already docked them a little bit on customer satisfaction and just consistency in the manufacturing, at least in those early cars. They think that Tesla thinks that that's all been smoothed out.
The reliability.
Yes, and so now this is a car, and also, of course, last year Tesla hit their milestone for how many cars that they had sold across their entire EV line to fit under the federal tax rebates.
Right.
And so the tax rebate is halved now, I believe, and will be going away over time. So even though this is a $35,000 car, a lot of people were hoping for $35,000 minus $7,500,
Yeah.
10
Sure.
in California. Right now, it's more likely $3,500. California's their fund for EVs is dwindling as well, and there's like a backlog, of course, of people getting their rebates. Same with PG&E. So this really is not that $25,000 car people are hoping for, but that I think would have been a pipe dream anyway.
Right.
I don't think the investors were looking to that as.
Well, it was a good story. Like, and it drove pre-orders up. I mean, well,
Yeah.
I know a few people in this room that
Totally.
may have put some money down
Yeah,
on that.
I pre-ordered one. And I got my money back. You, however, stuck with it.
Yep.
And you got one of the earlier editions.
I did, and totally happy with it.
Yeah.
The thing that I think it's worth mentioning, so 220 miles, which sounds like a lot, and it is a lot if you're talking about compared to other electric vehicles. Ooh, there's a
What?
bit of a sound. No,
That was
that's
weird.
that's you, Jeremy.
I'm on Do Not Disturb.
And as you guys know, owning electric vehicles, and even anyone who owns a cell phone or a big battery knows, like, or anything with a big battery, you're not going to really have it at capacity all the time.
Right.
And in fact, for EVs, they don't recommend you filling up to capacity
20 to 80% all the time.
Exactly, 20 to 80%. So what's your usable range? 220 miles. That means you're really losing 40 miles on the top end and 40 miles on the bottom, 50 miles conservatively. You're talking about really 120 to 150 mile range car if you're going on trips.
Right.
Which is more than enough for a day trip and for most people a commute comfortably.
For most people. But I know from experience, if I'm visiting clients on the peninsula and I've got a couple stops, like I can easily put in over 100 miles in a day. Like that's not that hard to do. And I think you start getting range anxiety when you're, even if you're at, below 50%, it's like you kind of go, oh, well, I better figure out, how much longer I've got. So, I think, when you start pushing 300, then that anxiety kind of goes away. But if you're in the low twos, that's not that much usable.
Yep.
Do you think anyone will actually buy the $35,000
I think
model?
tons of people will buy it, but they should know the caveats. Not only the range, I think, is the number one thing.
Yeah.
Right. Like the 220 it sounds like a good number. I think it's more reasonably 150, and I think the type of person who's going to buy the $35,000 Tesla is probably more accustomed to like a $15,000 or $20,000 gas car, in which you're going to get 300 miles of range, and you're not going to be used to charging overnight or using or adding an hour in your commute to go to a supercharger.
When you go to buy a website, and you have the three different tiers. You got the cheap one, you've got the crazy expensive enterprise one, you got the big one in the middle that says Best Buy.
Yep.
Right? I think that is what the standard range plus is.
The 240 mile range
Yeah.
one. So
Yeah,
that's only
it's only $2,000 more. You get 20 more miles of range, you get a faster top speed, and you get a better interior.
the better interior. That's the thing. This is why I also feel
These
like
are the caveats.
The $2,000 gets you not only the range but also like your adjustable seats. Everything is manual. The seats are just crappier quality, but people are price sensitive.
Yeah, but I think when they see what you get for that amount more, it does not. It's percentage-wise, it's not that much of a difference.
Well, if somebody's financing it, it's only I don't know what it amortizes out to, but it's not going to be that much more per month. So I'm going to guess they're going to sell that middle tier a lot more, just from because it's going to be $10 more a month or something like that.
The interesting thing is that from what we had known from what the middle tier, when the middle tier was released, these weren't the same batteries. Right. It actually weighed less. There were fewer cells in them. So I wonder what the difference is in terms of the 35,000, the 220 mile car and the 240 miles. Is that a software?
Are you going to be able to pay extra in the future? And then,
can you get upsold?
Well, they did that before with the 70 and 75 kilowatt hour battery, where they actually unlocked the advantages for a fee.
Right.
You basically had all of the hardware.
And that seems to be a model that Tesla is embracing in terms of letting you add on features or even demo features, because they've done trial periods where you can get autopilot for trial and then purchase on the spot
the
if you
BOM
like
cost
it.
difference is not that much, but they can then upsell you later. So
Right.
it costs more to have two different assembly lines.
What do you
that
think?
Are doing,
Yeah, how does that make you feel? I mean, I get that makes sense from a business perspective, but from a owner's perspective, if I have all of the hardware in the car, I swear to God, dude, I don't know. How about I shut down all my other tabs? Does that make you happy?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's that much different than iPhone with more memory. Like the actual cost of the memory is not $400, but I pay $400 for the extra memory in my iPhone.
Yeah, but that's a difference between the memory actually already being there and the software locked in.
but I don't. But the actual cost, I mean, I just look at it for what I'm paying for. It does not cost $400 for me to have that much more RAM in my iPhone. But so I don't feel cheated about it. But that's just because of I sort of know how the economics work. So
when does it end? Like, could they do a 200-mile car and charge even lower for that, and then do more software unlocks?
Well, I'm just waiting for somebody to come up with their own hack around it, and then
that would be the reason, because that would happen inevitably.
Sure.
And maybe it's breaking warranties, or maybe I don't know how exactly batteries work, but is it like CPUs where they bin them? And in the manufacturing process, they know.
I think it would be too hard. I think it'd be too hard to give somebody poor batteries. I think across the line they're building the same car. Again, you get the economies of scale, and and then it's just a software flag.
Yeah,
right.
And for whatever reason, like I'm not as hurt by that when it is purely software. If it's a game that has DLC or something that I unlock by paying $1 and suddenly I can get that bit flipped in my code, that makes sense to me. But when there's actual hardware that I have
bugs you.
that is like weight, that takes atoms.
that you're carrying around with you.
That I actually have purchased in some sense of the word, I feel like I should be able to use them. It's a weird thing. So in the sense of me
even though you paid less.
Yes. So it's like the sense that I'm okay with it from a software perspective tells me that this is forward thinking, that this is going to be the wave of the future, that people are going to be buying hardware that they can't use until they unlock it with some sort of, IAP.
Yeah.
But it still hurts.
So speaking of features that you're unlocking, a bunch of Tesla announcements we're going to have in our top story this week. A bunch of other Tesla announcements came out, specifically with their self-driving. So this is also the year that Tesla anticipates that the full self-driving capability will be unlocked on the cars that have the hardware. And it's been something that a lot of people have speculated whether it can happen. And the way they've worded it is really interesting. They say that it will offer automatic driving on city streets, which makes sense as full self-driving. This is all still computer vision, optical vision based. Excuse me. But a lot of people don't know if it's not been proven. That's my point. What do you guys think?
I think there's enough other companies that are using sort of a lot more hardware tech that haven't got to that point yet. So I feel like Tesla's starting at a disadvantage going with, they do have, I'm pretty sure they have radar as well. So it's not purely optical. There's also
there's radar, the little circles in front of the back of the cars, the bumpers.
Or ultrasonic or whatever.
Yeah, ultrasonic, that's what it is.
But, they don't have LiDAR. They don't have a lot of more active sensing. And I know some of these other companies that are, experimenting with a lot more technology, they don't have fully autonomous, level 5. So I kind of go, if this was only that far away, I would expect more kind of demos. I would expect more kind of other companies to be close to it as well. Because, at the end of the day, the technology, even though, yes, it's kind of walled off in different companies, a lot of it is shared. A lot of the, the barriers to doing this are, just sort of general technologies that kind of get developed and general AI practices and other sensor technology that if it was only a year away, we would just see a lot more of it already.
I think the technology probably is at a point now where in certain conditions, there's a car at Tesla that can navigate city streets.
Oh, in certain conditions,
and
absolutely.
And Elon has seen this, and he knows that we are that close. But the problem is that with this kind of technology, that last 10%,
it's all edge cases,
is just infinitely difficult.
This is like Tesla's fake 5G. right? It's their 5G evolution, right? It's not level 5, it's like level 4 plus. And they're wording it
But
carefully.
even if it was 4+, that's still, I think, generous.
Wow. Okay.
I do. Again, because I'm not seeing, if it's only 6 months away or a year away, like I would think there would be more demos or more beta vehicles or more just other things that would sort of hint at that.
And I think in the wording, so because they did reword the
Right.
wording on exactly what their EAP, Enhanced Autopilot, and the full autopilot, full self-driving, FSD, can offer. What they said for full self-driving is that it will recognize stop signs and street lights.
But will it stop at them?
And, and it will navigate streets, right? So it says nothing
Doesn't say
about
legally. Doesn't say
legality,
without running over people.
pedestrians, exactly. And so what they're basically advertising and what they're being cautious about promising, even though marketing may appear otherwise, is that in a perfect scenario,
Right.
in a completely controlled environment or zero other variability and other factors, it could do those things. And I believe that based on the optical technology and the ultrasonics. But whether in practice,
Can you go to sleep behind the wheel?
I mean, and they would never advertise that.
You can't even do that on the highway yet.
Right. Like all of their self-driving capabilities are all assisted capabilities.
Right. And they're relying on the liability of the driver to say, is there somebody in front of me? Run them over? Yes, no.
Exactly.
What is the newer version of highway that you have, where it can transition highways?
Navigate on autopilot.
So even when it transitions from lanes,
It requires a confirmation by
Yeah.
a quick tap on the stock.
that's not full autopilot.
No,
It seems so far
it's not
away.
level 5.
Yeah.
It seems miles away.
And also the question is, I mean, I think definitely for urban areas, big cities, you're not going to want to use FSD really because there are just people running around, jaywalking. But small town suburbia, bigger, wider streets,
Right.
lots of miles with lots of stoplights. Is that going to matter? Are people going to?
Well, maybe it's an education of the general populace of like, oh, well, now I can't jump out in front of cars and expect them to stop. I mean, part of it is like this expectation that, somebody's just going to stop if I jump out, or just kind of that level of, it's sort of like at train tracks. Like if you knew that a train was coming, because trains don't stop, you're not going to go on those tracks.
But the cars don't signal. The cars don't let you know that, like, even on the freeway, you don't know
Right.
when another car is on autopilot. And researchers, we talked about this, researchers have said that cars need to flag some way, that eye contact with the pedestrian crossing the street. They
Right.
need to, there is a visual signal that needs to happen.
I think it's a general education for the populace to be like, okay, there are things making decisions that aren't humans, and we have to be more cautious around them, both other drivers and other pedestrians. And I think it's both. I think that there's technology, but it's not going to be perfect, and you're just going to have to engineer, the mainstream.
I think in terms of kids jumping in front of automobiles, you're probably better off jumping in front of a Tesla that's on autopilot.
Right now, yes.
And in fact, that's what concerns me, as in addition to many other things, is like, what kind of false positives are the drivers going to see when they're on full auto? Are they going to? Because my car beeps all the time when it thinks I'm going to hit somebody.
Right.
And it's I'm in control, so
You can ignore those beeps.
I ignore the beep, but the car might not be that sure of itself.
So are you going to be slamming on the brakes all the time?
Exactly.
Or, yeah. No, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Also in Tesla news, I mean, for people who have not bought the upgrades, it's a little bit slap in the face because the feature set has changed. They also paid a little more. You pay for the promise, right? And we've been advocates of never paying for the promise of these features unlocked. Now, the prices went up. The idea is that you would pre-order these features, pay for the promise, and you would have a lower price. And now the real price is actually even lower.
Right. It's like paying for a Kickstarter, and instead of getting that cheap deal, you paid a lot more.
You paid a lot more. The feature went on discount immediately, even before it's coming out. So a little bummed out for those people who paid for the full self-driving capabilities.
Well,
still don't have it yet.
People who pay for their cars already.
Exactly.
That's
who
the
have their cars.
Yeah.
And that 100% is a software-gated feature.
But you haven't discussed why the prices of the cars have gone down, have you?
Why have they gone down?
Because they're getting rid of their retail presence.
Right.
Is that their direct correlation?
Well, they
Yeah.
say they have to do that in order to sell them for this price.
And so they're moving to an online-only sales model, which is becoming more the norm for cars.
Well, sure, except for it makes it a lot harder to test drive them. What they're saying now is you can now test drive a Tesla by buying one
Oh my God.
and returning it anytime within a week or 1,000 miles, whichever comes first.
That's not a very good customer experience.
Well, I mean,
it's a proven customer experience in other, other markets, not cars.
But it's not for test drives. It's like basically buying. The promise of a good return policy is more beneficial to the seller than the buyer.
it's just an expensive test drive. Like, that is a big commitment. And it's just interesting because people will abuse this. And Tesla practically invites it in their language when they say you can literally buy a Tesla, drive it for a week, bring it back, and we'll give you your money
I'm
back.
sure they limit it to how many times you could do that. You do it the one time on your driver's license, that's it.
Okay.
You got your 999 mile road trip.
Yeah.
All right.
Paid for.
Tesla Cannonball Run. Jeremy, next week we're doing it.
Where can you go?
Where can you go?
1,000. The question is, do you have to return it to the same place?
Right.
Oh,
That's
a one-way.
point to point.
Right.
That's a good rental. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't say that out loud.
Also, with a $35,000, there's only one color that comes in $35,000. It's the black. Every other color is an upsell, like a 4-figure upsell. The red is an additional $2,500.
Of course. Yeah. That was a change that happened late last year too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. So they've been doing like kind of evolving pricing schemes, right? To kind of maximize their sales. One perspective is that this is just how business works, and but prices on things change all the time.
Well, it's how consumer electronics work.
It is,
It's
and they're
different
treating
than cars.
Yeah, and they're treating this like from the way you buy it to the way you use it as a piece of technology rather than a annual everything locked down. Car feature sets change, price changes, and people have not complained. The other argument is that they're doing this because they're desperate, because they need to move the cars off the lot. They had this huge influx in sales. They're getting these cars shipped overseas to Europe now, but in order to maintain that growth, they need to tweak the pricing.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out.
We'll find out. And the other thing we'll find out, the last bit of Tesla news, is March 14th.
New car.
The unveil of the
Model
Y. The SUV light, the crossover.
From sex to sexy.
So the only other detail, that's right, S3 Y's or
S3XY.
XY, that's right. The only there's one teaser image, but the only other details is that it's going to use the same battery, the same base platform as the Model 3, but because it's a larger form factor, range is going to be cut by 10%, and the price is going to be 10% more.
Yeah, they're saying it'd be 10% bigger, so it cost 10% more.
With 10% reduction in range.
Yeah.
But you get the hauling
The thing is,
the
like,
carrying capacity.
the Model 3 is not tiny. I mean,
No.
like, it looked tinier than it was going
Right.
to be. It's actually much closer to the Model S in terms of length than I expected it to be.
Yeah, it's comfortable in the back.
So I'll be curious to see, like, wow, like what do they make an SUV look like?
Right.
With that? I mean, it's already spacious.
Yeah.
It's going to be, I would imagine, pretty nice in there.
And
Yeah.
the
I mean,
market
the
research
X-
is there, right? Like the X, I think they know is an anomaly. Like they over-engineered that.
They won't do the Falcon Wing
They won't do
doors.
the Falcon Wing doors again. That was a showy piece of technology
Sure.
as a car. They know in the automobile business, like it's trucks that sell.
Right.
And
It's utility.
and it's the small mid-size SUVs, your RAV4s, your CX-5s, and the Mazdas that sell. And so this is directly entering that space because they need parents to buy these
That's it.
to carry
Soccer
their
moms.
kids around.
Soccer
Carry
moms.
Yeah.
And the S and the X dropped in price. By about 10,000.
Wow.
So it's all dropped because of the it all dovetails with the financial incentives going away and retail now going away too.
Do you think there'll be as much excitement for the Y just in the Tesla?
I don't think it has the same
Fans?
buzz. I think for Tesla fans, yes, but I think the idea, I mean, what made the Model 3 so sort of appealing to the masses was, a $35,000 Tesla.
When previously it was 80 to 100,000.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I can get it for a fraction of the cost, and it's the same thing. And all of those things that sort of they touted it as, all the same features, just cheaper.
I'm really curious in that market. Like, they've sold a couple 100,000 of these now. For those people buying, are they one-car households, or like what's the average in that in that economic price bracket, how many cars do those people usually have? And is it like the sedan and the SUV? Like, have they done that research and are counting on people to buy 2 cars?
Wow.
I think it's a weird market because again they're treating it more as a consumer electronic than they are an automobile.
And
so
Apple
a lot
does the
of
same thing.
Right.
Apple knows that the people who have enough money to buy an iPhone have enough money to buy an iPhone and an Apple Watch,
Right.
and maybe a MacBook,
Right.
and get you in the family.
These are all premium products. Even at the $35K, it's still a premium because it's not a gas guzzler. Like it's just,
And there are plenty of people who, when they first bought the S, their next car was the X.
Right.
They were sold.
Yeah.
And it's compelling. Going all EV, as you guys know.
Yeah.
And I think EV is less of a strange phrase now.
Right.
And
Though for the record, I'm hybrid, not 100%.
He's not
got
all
it.
EV.
I know. I'm like
okay.
only
He's
half,
like for 50
half as cool as
50
you
miles.
guys.
Got it.
I want a Tesla scooter. Give me that Tesla Razor scooter.
They're never going to
Like tomorrow, I will pick
No.
that up.
I'll make you a
What's the
sticker,
difference?
Jeremy. I'll make you a sticker for your bird.
Wait. You're talking about like a
Yeah.
skateboard type thing
Yes,
with a
handle on
handlebar.
it. Yes.
With
Why-
a 15-inch screen in the middle.
What would Tesla bring to that?
It would go fast. It would look good. It would just be a fun ride. It would have autopilot.
No,
scooter.
no.
It's just software. Come on, it's just software.
That'd be fun.
I think that a lot of their competitive advantage is their network that they've built up, and also the technology they've put in the in-car experience, the dash and that stuff.
I think it's branding. I think a lot of it is branding. These days, it's you own a Tesla. It's just, at least in this area, I think there's a lot of status in that. It used to be a BMW or a Porsche or whatever, and now the car of, premium choice is a Tesla.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll come back March 14th.
Oh, see, I muted for you guys. Now it won't play music.
Alrighty. We edge closer and closer to the galaxy's edge.
They're less far away.
What does that mean? Oh, you're talking about Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Hey, episode 9's coming out this year.
I thought you were excited because there's a Marvel movie coming out this weekend.
There is a Marvel movie coming out this
Yeah,
weekend.
I figured for
Captain
sure
Marvel.
that would be the top story of your pop culture section. But all right,
We
hit me.
talked a little bit about that last week with the reviews. There was the premiere, of course, of Captain Marvel. I have my tickets. I'm watching it this Saturday, I believe. But Star Wars, are people less excited about Star Wars now?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Disney.
Thank you, Jeremy.
What? What did I do?
It's all you, Jeremy.
It's
your fault.
Saturation that people are less interested in Star Wars.
I think the
I mean-
movies have disappointed.
Solo.
So.
I liked Rogue One.
Yeah.
Well, Galaxy's Edge, it's a reason to get re-excited. The rides are being finalized. People have now seen more details about the new ride, specifically the Millennium Falcon, the Smuggler's Run ride, and these new lands are going to open in Disneyland, Disney World.
Smuggler's Run is the Millennium Falcon ride.
I believe so.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
What do you know about it? I know that everybody in the cockpit has a role to play, right?
The interactivity is interesting.
Yeah.
Right? Like how much interactivity.
It's Bridge Crew.
I would love Bridge Crew. That would be fun.
But that's kind of how they described it. There's a pilot, there's a gunner, and there's an engineer.
So the visuals are programmatic.
Yeah.
Is what they're saying.
Yeah,
Like,
real time.
Not just sound effects in
Yeah.
the cockpit. Because there was that. Have you guys been to Disney World? Epcot has the Mission Earth.
I have
Right,
not been
it's-
in the past 20 years.
It's the Gary Sinise one with an actual gravitron style like flight simulator. Like you are spinning, you get G forces, and there are 4 roles in that one as well. But all the buttons do nothing. You sit in the chair. You're told at a certain point
They're just baby
you know,
toys.
Yeah, I could go press the landing gear now, pilot, and then you're pressing the button, and then
Yeah.
but so is this going to be that, or is it actually
No, this is real, man. I think this is going to be real. That's what makes this so interesting. Is that it's real-time graphics with real-time effects that
I don't
you
know
have
if I
on
want that. I don't know if I want my
a
experience to
video
be
game. Yes, you do.
not. But if I'm in a ride with, let's say, 8 other people, right? Because they're going to
Right.
pack people in these cockpits. It's
Right.
not going to be the four
Yeah.
smugglers, right?
No.
The photos may show 4 people, but it's going
Yeah.
to be a lot of
So
seats.
my concern is the only fun one the gunner or the engineer or whatever?
I just want to go there for the ride.
Are there going to be seats that are just epically more entertaining than the others?
The visuals and the ride, the motion simulation should be enough.
You want Star Tours?
Yeah, I'm happy with Star Tours.
No, I see. That's it. Like I would rather have something new.
But you're not actually controlling the gimbal.
Why not?
No, the safety.
Dude, that would be amazing.
Well, I mean, it's just a fancy VR game, right? But I mean, so it's an immersive VR experience, just not with goggles. It's with a screen in front of the window.
I think there's confusion. I don't think, and I'm happy to be wrong, but I don't think that the pilot seat
No.
is going to be able to actually adjust the yaw of your cockpit or
There's gonna
change
be
anything meaningful.
well, not meaningful, but I bet there's something. I bet there's either a scorekeeping or because some of their other rides. There's the Buzz Lightyear shoot 'em up thing.
Yeah.
Like there is some like they've been experimenting with sort of gameplay in their rides for a long time. So this to me is just sort of the next step.
Midway Mania.
Yeah, exactly. So I bet there's going to be something where you can get scored or you can be better or
The more they can do that, the more people will want to replay it. And that's, I mean, if you can re-ride a ride and have a completely different sensation, and maybe like get your buddies to go with you so that you can have the best experience.
or unlock Easter eggs, or did you see the hidden Mickey or the whatever it is in that experience? They're going to eat that up.
I have no question that ride's going to be phenomenal. My problem is going to be the lines themselves.
That's the problem.
Like the imagery that they've showed of Galaxy's Edge so far have had 10 guests in them.
So
but
Nerdist
they've
did
made
a huge write-up, right? And there are some more clarifying details. They detail, of course, as you go through the Millennium Falcon, how amazing the recreation of the line waiting experience will be.
They've made lines better.
Exactly.
But there's still lines.
There's plenty of opportunity for photos. And they also said that the cockpit, because we've heard that they'll have this kind of carousel cockpit system.
Sure.
6 riders per cockpit,
Okay.
which is fewer than I expected. I would thought at least 8. 6 riders per cockpit? How long is this ride going to be? How many people can they cycle through?
How many cockpits are there?
How many cockpits are there, right? Even if you're generously talking about a system which you have a dozen cockpits, right? You're still cycling 6 people at a time, a minute each or so, if it's like a, 5-10 minute experience.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe it is. Is it possible that it is on rails? I mean, is it possible it's like
They can move the cockpits out of the way
Yes.
somehow, some kind of carousel or multiples.
Totally. I mean, that's exactly what
Yeah.
the Harry Potter ride does in
Right.
Universal, right? So
Right.
they put 4 people on a tracked
But that's
gimbal
like
system.
that's a huge. It's basically a roller coaster with a
Yes.
robotic arm,
So basically, is this what that is? Is each cockpit like its own robotic arm?
Right.
and it just
Gimbal
it
system,
moves away for the
and
next
it just
one.
moves away. It kind of aligns in. 6 people walk in. A minute later, another one.
No, it'd be faster than that. I would hope.
Depending on how many there are and how long the experience is.
They could be clever and split people off, and I mean, I if anybody's going to do it,
Yeah.
That's
Imagineers,
Imagineering,
yeah, that's
exactly.
Imagineering.
That's Disney magic.
So
So the question is, for Smuggler's Run, once you're in the cockpit, I have no doubt that the buttons will do something in cockpit. Press a button, it will toggle a light. You move the joystick and some funky animatronic thing will happen. But whether it actually controls the experience
it'd be so
more
much-
so than real-time running of lasers.
Look at how much success they've had partnering with the Void, where you must accomplish tasks in order to proceed through the game, essentially.
No, it's got to be like lockdown limits. I think
well, I'm sure there's going to be limits, but it's got to do. I mean, it's going to be so much better if you pull a lever and something shakes, something moves, something physical happens. Like that would be such a waste if it didn't. I'd be so frustrated.
Yeah, no, it's gonna happen.
that would be one of my, Jeremy's
Things that frustrate me.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm frustrated the fact that even with Star Tours, I know that if I go through Star Tours 3 times, I've seen most of the content.
Yep.
I'm good. I'm not going to use my entire day at Disneyland here. It feels like to get the full Millennium Falcon experience, you got to go back to Disneyland like a dozen times.
That's what they want.
Oh, that's frustrating. I don't want to wait in that line a dozen times.
You're gonna have to.
That's the double-edged sword.
Right?
I'm not looking.
You won't be satisfied with the one run.
No.
See, that's
They should just rename it Smuggler's Runs.
right. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
no one's gonna be happy. I mean, you're gonna be happy coming out of it, but you're gonna be left wanting more.
That's what
No.
they're all about.
We have to get in on some kind of early access treatment. That's the only way to experience Galaxy's Edge.
So the other ride is Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. And this may be controversial, but I like this idea of a ride more. I like the dark ride. I like what Disney's known for. Taking you on a seat, going through real buildings, fake buildings, getting some cool effects, seeing some animatronics.
This feels comfortable to you.
Yes. I think that having one Star Wars themed is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, I can't complain about that, but it doesn't feel like it's pushing the limits.
Sometimes it's just nice to admire the work.
Yeah.
Even if the technology is not groundbreaking.
Well, maybe I am happy that someone like you, Jeremy, who is such a big Star Wars fan, is less enthused about Star Wars.
Are we going to have to take away your nerd cards? No, we need to push the limits on everything.
I'm trying to reduce the level of
It's about
excitement
nerdity.
so that the lines won't be so long.
Oh, right. This sounds like a horrible ride. Nobody should go there.
All right, from Star Wars over to Star Trek. Right after we recorded the podcast last week, we got news that Star Trek Discovery Season 3 has been greenlit. So we're going to get another season. That means it's a real Star Trek show. This is no longer like an experimental.
Yeah.
It's going to get it for one season, a blip in the canon of Star Trek. This is going to have a foothold in Star Trek lore
Next
and
gen
be meaningful.
It didn't even hit its stride until like season 3, right?
That's what I'm hoping for. That's exactly it. Next year, all the characters will be established. Maybe there'll be a uniform change. Who knows? Alex Kurtzman's getting another co-showrunner, so I'm excited. Even though for season 2, I'm going to wait till it finishes before I binge it all. I think that's the strategy here. The Picard show, a few news there. They've begun casting, although there are some rumors / leaks about the roles that the supporting cast will play. Those have been unverified, but they have said they have picked the director for the pilot episode, and she has begun the casting process. So
It's exciting. I'm excited for that way more than anything else.
Oh, yeah.
In Trek world.
Yeah, just stay in good health, everyone working on that.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart. We had the Oscars last week. Talk a little bit about that. Of course, everyone Green Book won, but a strong contender was Roma, which was Netflix's first big Oscar contender. Now, one person not quite happy about that, Steven Spielberg.
Why is he unhappy?
He firmly believes, and he's going to take this to the Academy Board,
Oh my gosh.
that the only movies that should qualify are ones that are made for the cinema, the big screen. Not for the small screen. If you do a movie for TV, it is a TV movie, and that belongs with the Emmys. If you want to contend for the Academy Awards,
I mean, it
gotta
is a
be
different
released
experience.
for theaters, theatrical release. This also sounds, this bitterness out of Spielberg is uncharacteristic. Like, is this really the thing he wants to fight for and die on? Like, making the case that Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu films and the filmmakers working on that, their movies don't belong in contention along the same, to be celebrated along with the other films?
But
Is it really all about the size of the screen and the number of people you see it with? Or is it about adhering to some other kind of architecture?
So currently there's the line is it needs a exclusive, they need a theatrical window, but doesn't have to be exclusive.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is him trying to, in his perspective, him saving cinemas.
right.
Him thinking that films have an unfair advantage when there's part of a subscription service or part of something you can just watch on your phone, and that when people pay to watch a movie in theaters, it is a different
The
experience.
barrier to entry is higher. You have to go someplace. You have to pay more. You have that whole thing that you have to do. Therefore, it's judged like completely different.
It's a
Or it should be.
shared experience with your fellow man.
Oh, absolutely. No, I think it is just very different. It's just a different thing. I mean, I still love going to the movies, even though I have a big screen at home and I have all the media and all of those things. It doesn't compare. So to me, I get his argument. Like, it makes sense, but maybe that's just my opinion.
It sounds so petty.
I don't know,
I think
man.
there's room for both. I think if you're talking about an institution like the Academy Awards, which has been criticized for not moving along with the times, both in terms of the types of films and the filmmakers it celebrates, the organization should be about the celebration of movie making. It's not even about celebration of film because people don't film anymore. It's all digital anyway.
Spielberg films.
Sure. Spielberg, Nolan, they film. Tarantino, they film, right? But at some point, the definition of a movie, you're still talking about an hour and a half to 2 hour single story in that form factor. I mean, the theaters that we're watching movies in today are nothing like the theaters that people were watching movies in 100 years ago.
I don't know. It's still that shared experience. I think it's still a destination. It's still your just the whole experience feels different. So
I mean, he's earned whatever right he has, right? I mean, he grew up going to the movies. There's all the lore about sneaking into the studio and getting.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm saying that you
job.
can still have those things don't feel mutually exclusive. And if the line he is drawing is that the new type of experience that people have, the new way that more people are watching these movies is something that he feels like comes at a detriment to the theatrical experience. He wants to have that punished by not recognizing them.
The problem is there's no stopping that. Whether or not he puts up a fight.
Right.
If that's the way things are going to go, that's a train.
And if the Academy goes that way, the Academy won't be long for this world.
But the Academy still votes.
The Academy Awards are I think more boring than they ever have been. People are less interested now than they have been in years. So it's not. They should embrace whatever future
exactly.
that
Exactly.
they have.
Exactly. And I think there's room for both.
Right.
I think you can make the case that the theatrical experience is special and something to be held on to and something to be promoted at the same time as opening your arms for different types of filmmaking.
Well, that's what I was saying. The fact is the Academy does vote on every one that wins, they vote on everything.
Yeah.
So, if things that are made for the small screen never win because the Academy has spoken and that's what, they're better experiences, they're better movies, whatever they are, then yeah, it's sort of almost self-selecting in a way. Like, well, why limit it artificially to say, no, they're not, they can't be voted on. Let them vote, and maybe it's just going to be, self-selecting.
It feels very gatekeeping on his part,
yeah,
and it just seems a little uncharacteristic. I'm sure. I hope that he'll change his mind about it. Maybe when his next film, the first time his film gets picked up for the streaming service,
He can do what he wants.
Right. He absolutely can.
Directed half of my favorite films.
Exactly. and then also made Ready Player One. So we got a couple of new movie trailers out this past week. There was a new X-Men Dark Phoenix trailer. This feels like a movie that no one's really kind of holding their breath for. No. It is the culmination of the soft reboot of the X-Men franchise that with James McAvoy that has now, what is it, this is the fifth movie? Was it First Class, Days of Future Past, Apocalypse? I feel like there's one more.
When Logan was in the middle of them.
Yeah. No, there's definitely one more.
Really? Sounds right to me.
Oh, we're testing.
And the
Norm's
fourth
knowledge.
one.
And the fourth one.
Okay, and so this would be the fourth one, and the one to end it, to collapse that, because this is the final X-Men movie, presumably, before Disney completes its acquisition of Fox. This is the first one that Simon Kinberg is directing. He wrote the other ones. And this is, in many ways, a revisiting of that first X-Men trilogy, with X-Men The Last Stand also being about Jean Grey becoming Phoenix. Right. And that one famously directed by McG. So the trailer is interesting. They're telegraphing big deaths in the trailer, and the director and writer they've been upfront about the fact that lots of people are going to die in this one because they don't really care.
Big death seems to sell tickets.
Exactly, and also they don't seem to care because this franchise probably will not live on in this form for much longer. So, and Jennifer Lawrence is getting too big of a movie star to be in X-Men movies anyway.
Yeah, to be blue.
Yes, yeah, that makeup just takes too long to put on. Speaking of reboots, Hellboy, new trailer for that. Ooh. Now, this one, the second trailer shows a lot more action. It's a rated R, restricted red band trailer.
Yeah.
Still not convinced yet.
I am so not convinced.
Still not convinced yet. I love the character. It seems like they are retreading some old ground with his origins, that's the part I think is unnecessary. I think if you're going to tell a Hellboy story, we already had some great Hellboy stories.
Super derivative.
Tell a different Hellboy story.
Yes, or it yeah.
I love David Harbour, so I will give him the benefit of the doubt. And
The dude from Stranger Things?
the dude from the
Yeah,
chief
he's good.
plays Hellboy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he sounds like Ron Perlman in all of the lines. Like, I'm like, is it that different? Like, and his makeup
He's
isn't
gruff. He's
yeah.
gruff and he's sassy.
Yeah.
These are the defining characteristics of Hellboy, and he fights giant monsters. So that's going to come out soon as well. Couple of home video releases. Alien is going to get a 4K HDR release.
The word home video just sounds like VHS. I'm just saying. Like
It is home video.
4K
It actually
HDR is the
is-
opposite.
Home video is
Yeah.
technically still
Okay.
the accurate term.
All right.
It is a home video release.
4K HDR Alien.
Alien.
This is great because I was thinking of watching this again soon.
Oh, you're going to introduce it to your kid?
Yeah. So
Oh.
Oh, wow.
yeah, he's been
That's a
one.
big-
He's ready for
Okay,
it. Like we
yeah.
did Sixth Sense, so I know he can handle
Oh, okay.
Alien. But now that it's coming out in HD, I'll just wait another month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
April 23rd when that's coming out, and I'm sure it's going to be available for digital streaming in many places. I over the past weekend bought and rewatched Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh,
And
nice.
That in 4K HDR,
That's
even
out?
via iTunes, looks so good.
Yeah, I want to frame by frame that thing.
It's so good. Actually, it almost looks too good and too CG in some places.
Oh.
I think when I first watched it, I watched it in Dolby Vision
Yeah.
or Dolby Cinema, so it was like the best place to watch it. A lot of the rendering in that film was almost like passing off as cell animation and really convincing.
Mhm.
At home, there's some scenes early on in the film that I could tell is just a little bit video gamey in its CG animation.
You don't have motion smoothing on.
I was going to
it.
say,
No,
no,
of course
come
not.
on.
No, no.
Your TV's not.
No, just in the crispness of it. Yeah, but there's some action sequences. You can definitely tell like the places where they devoted a
Yeah.
ton of action. The first fight with Dr. Octopus, I'll just say, if you haven't seen the film,
Oh, yeah.
was amazing. The first Spider-Man action sequence with Green Goblin is incredible.
The trees, the whole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good stuff.
What are the extras on that?
They have a 4-minute Spider-Ham short film that is a prequel to Spider-Ham and shows how he gets into the Spider-Verse.
Wow. Okay.
John Mulaney voices that. It's all done with cell animation. It's fantastic. There is a expanded commentary cut of the film, so you watch it with not just director's commentary, but like the special like they pause it and talk about certain scenes. Like
Really?
they call it an alternate universe mode, and then there's a lot of featurettes.
And you got this from download?
iTunes.
Wow. And they give you
iTunes?
all that?
Is that a different render, or is it? Do they like pause the actual film and then play a different video file?
I don't know. I don't know how, because in the old days, like with DVDs, like when Matrix came out and they had those special
Oh, yeah. You had
things,
to
like it was
switch
you
separate
actually
disc.
had separate disc, or they had it built into the DVD system where they
different
could
track.
move tracks.
Yeah.
Right? At certain times, you could jump to a commentary behind the scenes track and then jump back into the film.
Yeah.
Hit that white rabbit button. But I don't know if this is done algorithmically
Okay.
or if it's like just re-render.
That's neat.
Down. I mean,
That's cool. Yeah.
iTunes is streaming no matter what. You never download anything for iTunes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's no storage for aside from apps and games on Apple
Is the
TV.
compression noticeable at all?
So I was debating whether I was going to get the disc, which
Yeah.
includes the iTunes code, but at convenience sake, I just got
Right.
the iTunes one. And I think animated films always look great no matter
Right.
what.
Because there's so much field of continuous color. And
Exactly, right.
You don't
right.
get that noise.
Yeah, yeah.
the
And so the
JPEG
bit
noise.
rates are totally fine,
Yeah.
even at 4K HDR. Yeah.
Nice.
Totally recommended, of course, it being not only the best animated film of last year, but one of the best films of last year.
Oscar winning.
Hey, it's the Nintendo Switch's second anniversary. As Sony PlayStation is retiring the Vita, the Switch celebrates its second year of success this past week. You guys both have a Switch, I presume?
I don't have a Switch. I still
Ah.
play an original Wii. Like in this last week, in our house, we play a Wii. Like that's
Then there's no reason not to get the Switch because you have Wii parity
Wii parody.
with the Switch.
What
You
are you
got
talking about?
waggle.
What are you
You
talking
got
about, Wii
waggle in
parity?
the controls.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah, I've been playing a little bit of Tetris 99.
I heard that's the hot stuff.
What is that?
Do you not know about?
I know about Tetris Effect.
No.
Wait. What? You really? What?
The
Okay, so there was a Nintendo Direct, their big press conference,
Yeah.
a week and a half ago,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things that was a surprise announcement, because Switch for the first year multiplayer was free, right? And now you have to pay for kind of like an Xbox Live subscription, $20 a year,
Yeah.
to do any type of multiplayer games. One of the ways they're getting people to do multiplayer is they release for free, still free now. You can do this, Jeremy.
Okay.
Tetris Battle Royale called Tetris 99
On the Switch?
on the Switch.
Wow.
See, I don't even have a Switch, and I know about this. It's like,
Well, let me explain this to you because it is even better than you can imagine. Tetris 99. Kishore and I talked about it last week. I'm going to talk about it again. So you have your Tetris board that you play,
Yeah.
and you're playing Tetris.
Uh-huh.
Now, have you done like multiplayer Tetris before?
Nope.
Competitive Tetris is multiplayer Tetris.
I've
right?
watched it.
You've watched it, right?
Yep.
And one of the ways that multiplayer Tetris works is that as you get Tetrises, as you build it, you actually are sending inconveniences to an opponent. You're adding things.
A Tetris being 4 lines.
As you get 4 lines,
Okay.
and as you rack up points and do it with like grace and style, you are then making it more difficult or hindering
Yeah.
a direct opponent by like adding like a whole block of random cubes to the bottom of their board, raising their board by 4 lines, and so they have to keep up as well.
Oh my God.
And so, but how do you do that in a battle royale setting?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is so cool. You're watching your own playing Tetris game. You see all 98 other games being played at the same time in real time in miniature windows all around you.
which I can only imagine being playable on a big screen. Like if you can't take that portable.
Well, it's an indication of how many people are still in the game, I guess.
And not only do you see the screens getting grayed out
Yeah.
as people are dying, because in multiplayer Tetris you have to have an opponent, you can use the other stick to direct who
No.
is your opponent, because you can see that person's doing very poorly, and then you can target them,
Oh, that's mean.
and you can see who's targeting you,
Oh.
and so you can build grudges within this meta level, the game within a game of Tetris.
I'm just not that good. Like
So
I'm focused so much on just playing Tetris. I don't have time
Which you
to
could
like
do. You could focus on, but there is
and
a whole meta level.
then you would die.
I mean, unless you're really, really good. There's
Right.
videos of people just like in the top 4, like 3 lines of clearing space ahead and above them, and they're like surviving for minutes long.
So how far have you gotten?
I've only gotten like 38. I'm not
That's
very good.
pretty good, though.
I know a bunch of people who've gotten first place.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
Who?
A bunch of people.
Chicken dinners.
Yeah, they've gotten their Tetris chicken dinners, Tetris dinners.
It's not Will Smith, is it?
No, I don't know. Actually, I don't know. He's right outside the door right now. Actually, you can go ask him. He's waiting for episode 500. If you're into Tetris, it's really recommended. And you could actually play as a family because you could have second player be the person helping you target.
Oh, I thought you meant you
Oh.
could play it in the same round. Like, can you do that somehow? Can you sync up with friends?
I don't know. I haven't tried it. I want to say
Okay.
you probably.
So matchmaking, maybe.
Yeah,
And then, but you can do co-op with.
But basically, you could have a second person help with your targeting the meta game
Sure.
of how to target,
Right.
and giving you commentary of like, you gotta stay alive. There's only 3 people left, and
Can-
one person's dying, almost dead.
Can you see what piece is up next?
Yes, you can see like the next 4 or 5 pieces.
Holy cow.
6 pieces.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
I'm just.
and you have the storage area, so you can swap out.
Oh, wow.
But
No,
can
this
you
is
throw?
hard- this
Can
is
you throw
hardcore.
like bananas or
No.
bombs or
No,
ink?
no.
No, you can't do any of those.
This is serious.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's silly.
Wow. All right. I'll definitely have to get that. It's
Gotta
a
check that out.
no-brainer.
Yeah, it's free.
Thank
It's
you
free.
for the tip.
Tetris 99, Switch. Congratulations on your 2nd anniversary. A lot of good games, and what a hit for Nintendo.
Yeah. It's their tick year.
Yeah. So this is an interesting thing. MIT Technology Review was able to get Bill Gates to kind of curate a story for them, a feature story for their publication, identifying 10 breakthrough technologies that he sees will make a big difference in 2019. Want to go through the list?
Is one your Apple Watch? Because you're just checking it out.
No, but one does have to do with wearables
Okay.
and EEG. But let's just go through the list and
Fine.
kind of discuss, because I'm interested, Zach, from your engineering standpoint, how
Sure.
reasonable you think some of these technologies are, and from our
I'm
opinions.
going in. I'm going in fresh because I haven't heard any of these. So
Number one,
Mm-hmm.
it's something that we've heard a lot of people talk about: robot dexterity. Now, why does robot dexterity suck today? Zach? I feel like you could explain this.
Energy density. It all has to do with the power sources. So
why can't robot fingers articulate or grab?
Oh no, I think they can, and there's been lots of graspers that can have pretty much as close to the same dexterity. But to do it practically, you have a lot more. Just from a weight perspective, the number of motors that you'd actually have to have, those are all kind of like off to the side in these dexterous hands. So if you want to actually make a mobile platform or something like that, it's a big heavy thing. Plus you have to have batteries. You're trying to compete with the efficiency of biological muscles. But as we get more efficient motors, better magnets, better design, and we get higher energy density batteries, then some of these technologies can be more mobile and useful in things other than, say, like a factory setting. So yeah, I mean, I could see that. I don't know that really unlocks any. I'd have to.
So you think it's a mechanical problem right now with the servos?
Well, I think it's just some of it's just a design problem. I mean, we haven't figured out the best way to pack all of those motors and actuators and things, and also sensing and feedback. But there's been some really good dexterous hands and other graspers and things. So I don't think that I'm trying to figure out what does that technology really unlock? Like what capability or what problem is it really solving?
The problem,
folding laundry? I don't know. Like
even for manufacturing, like Adam talks about how he's talked with engineers who've designed robots where like they can't pick up pick and place robots.
Sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
Can require certain types of like crutches on the things they're picking, or limitations on what they're picking to work. If they could pick and place with sensors, and where you can just literally throw down a conveyor line. But
that's not how manufacturing actually happens. I mean, maybe that puts us more toward fully autonomous manufacturing. But right now, so much manufacturing. I mean, there are purpose-built robots that do certain tasks. I'm picking up as you say, pick and place. I'm picking up a part, placing on a circuit board. That is a completely robotic task. The whole ecosystem is designed around making that possible. The shape of the chips and the way that the solder flows and all of those things, it's all because of automation. We want to be able to do that. The things that require dexterity, humans still do. And I think we're, even with the most dexterous fingers, it's sort of like the autonomous driving problem. You don't understand the edge cases or the manipulation required to shove wires in a small hole because that wire is going to be flexible and bend and do weird things. Like
you wouldn't want to give that to a robot anyway.
Well, I mean, I don't know what the advantage is, other than just like I just want to get humans out of the loop. If that is truly the advantage, then right. I could see that being. But that isn't how manufacturing actually happens. There's still a lot of people employed and sort of relied upon to do those tasks.
What about prosthetics?
Sure.
Human augmentation.
Yeah. I mean, I think again, then it comes back to power. So I've worked on exoskeletons and I've worked on other things that kind of are in that realm. And yeah, the thing that makes it sort of the most inconvenient is, yes, I can power this arm or this leg or this whatever for an hour with something of a reasonable size battery, but really to do it all day, you would have to have multiple batteries or something that's so heavy that it's just not practical. So yeah, I guess it's there, but from an actual is the dexterity portion of it interesting? I'm not sure. I don't know yet what that unlocks. Like that's the interesting part.
I feel like it's less in. I mean, I feel like people are going to try to apply it toward manufacturing, and capitalists are going to try to replace the human jobs in any way possible with technology. But I also feel like a lot of applications may be in that, like telerobotics, remote surgery, and which is
maybe
it's very specialized niche cases.
But if you're doing specialized things, you don't need to make tools be human compatible. You can make them robotically compatible. Yeah. So
they would be specific grips and
that's where I'm like, I don't quite see it there.
Right. All right. The goal of replicating everything a finger can do, we're also confined by the limitations of
our fingers.
Our fingers. Yeah. Exactly. Sometimes a suction or a vacuum will do just fine.
There's a lot of things on this list.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to fill a lot of time with this podcast talking about this list.
4 hours later.
This next one is a quite a moonshot. New wave nuclear power.
Is this cold fusion?
Or does it just have more techno drums?
Advanced fusion and fission reactors are edging closer to reality.
Yeah, I mean, fission is bad. Like, we know this. It creates all sorts of, ugly waste at the end of the day. Fusion is where it's at if we can make it work and make it sustainable. But, the ignition facility and like a number of these projects, they've come close.
The power of 1,000 exploding suns, Jeremy.
I mean, it is the sci-fi dream. It is the way to power just anything.
Yeah.
Portable fusion devices is in all the books.
My arc reactor, I'm just
Yeah.
waiting for it. But yeah, so yeah, if we have that, then number one, I think, starts applying.
This article says that it is both considered a pipe dream by many and may be here by 2030.
Sure. I mean, I think it's like so many things in electronics, or it's like it's a problem, and then you solve it, and then it's like, oh, of course. Like it's somebody forgot to plug in something, or there's some that one thing that they didn't try, that one combination, and then it's like, oh, well, then this makes sense. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just a matter of getting the right discovery and figuring out the hurdles that are required to make it happen, and figuring out if Jeremy can shut off his.
Hey, don't worry.
notifications.
Those sounds are on a separate audio track. People might not even be hearing
What?
them.
We're just hearing
Oh,
it?
that's good.
Exactly.
Okay,
right?
so
Just
now-
don't react, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Don't react.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I think yes. If we get that, if we solve the unlimited energy problem, of course, the world is
I feel like
changed forever.
that this is a filler item on this list, because if the guidelines were to come up with 10 breakthrough technologies for 2019, this is like,
probably not gonna happen in
not
2019.
It's probably stuff that was interesting or this level of interest 3 years ago, and will still be in that same phase 3 years from now.
Unless somebody has the aha. I think that's
and
what
nothing in this article indicates that the aha
Is close.
has been made or is close.
Yeah.
We're in 2019. We got a bunch of health stuff in here. We got predicting premature births, which
Well, I think any of the data analysis stuff, I mean, I think that's actually where we are making such huge strides on with sort of, big neural nets and big data processing and
Yeah.
predictive, we're really fine tuning sort of those processes so that we can throw huge amounts of computing at these data sets and make some real discoveries. And I think that's actually, sort of data handling and understanding big data. I think that's actually the most interesting part of kind of what's going on these days.
and doing it cheap.
And doing it
having
cheap.
a test that's cheap and scalable. And that
Absolutely.
seems like a very Bill Gates thing.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Solving health problems with solutions that don't cost a lot and that can
Right.
have a big impact.
Right.
All right, some little more bioengineering. You got gut probes in a pill, swallowable device that can detail your gut, even in infants and children.
Yeah, I mean they've had swallowable pills with cameras and sensing and stuff like that for a while. I'm not sure why this would make a list of kind of new breakthroughs. Yeah, I mean
They say that there's a engineer and a pathologist in at the Massachusetts General Hospital developing these small gut pills that can even obtain tissue samples and also have miniature microscopes.
Yeah, I mean there's endoscopes and things. Again, I don't see anything super breakthrough here. I mean, yes, this is interesting stuff, but I think it's more building on previous technology and kind of incremental than like a major.
It could be it's more widespread use,
Right.
If it's at a point where
Maybe cost effective.
Cost effective.
That's probably the biggest one.
yeah, your prostate cancer test is
Right.
now going to be a standard default thing and be more accurate and less invasive. That
But
could be
I
it.
guess as a geek and a nerd, the thing that's interesting to me is not that it's now cheap. It's that initial discovery. So
Right.
the
break through in a different sense.
Right,
You're looking for things you've never seen before.
exactly.
Yeah. Custom cancer vaccines. This is a little more intangible, but hopefully that will also be the case. They say that these vaccines started coming to development after the Human Genome Project, and it is something again that's been in development for the past couple of years, and
Absolutely.
from his perspective, will be meaningful this year and going forward.
I have personal experience in this realm, and by all means, customized vaccines. I'm hoping and waiting.
The cow-free burger.
Heck yeah.
Yes.
All right, Carl's Jr. is selling one. You've
Crazy.
seen these ads?
No.
No, I haven't seen that.
There are ads for.
Wait, you watch ads?
I watch live events. You can't get away from ads.
No.
You know they're so tangentially. They're so clever now. I was watching a sporting event, and now they have ads that play. Basically, they picture-in-picture your live event and just say, we're not even going to cut away to an ad, so you can fast forward. During some downtime where normally they would cut away, they're going to show you the content of the live sporting event.
They're projecting the burger on the football.
And they will literally take the screen. You're watching a basketball game, a football game, and they will shrink it and play an ad.
They pan and scan.
They pan and scan the ad and then zoom out.
Yeah.
Because this behind the scenes extra content is brought to you by this ad.
Yeah.
It's still live though.
It's still live because that's how they know that people will watch.
That's
Like
wild.
Callus Burgers.
It's
Hey,
good idea.
I've had some really good, meatless meat. And I mean,
Impossible Burger.
Impossible Burger's good. And there's a bunch of them. And even the ones that aren't like trying to be hamburger, like that are just like good burgers, but they're, made with mushrooms and other grains and whatnot. Like I've been like, oh, this is actually a really enjoyable thing.
I think that they're a fantastic option for people who are vegan or vegetarian, but
Absolutely.
I don't think that's the reason why it's on this list. I think it's on this list because there's just not enough food in the world, and people can fabricate a delicious burger.
Well, from an energy perspective, where they say like 10 pounds of grain makes 1 pound of burger or something like that. So it's like, the further we get to making, meatless options, from a world perspective and energy perspective, it's so much better.
And the two companies, the Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods, are the two big companies working in this. Of course, working from the other way, getting a lot of attention, making gourmet burgers now in places like Carl's Jr. Eventually, make its way into your supermarket.
Right.
But all of that is we're finding a process that then can be really deployed
Yeah.
globally, and not just for your 1% vegans.
They've taken the Tesla, Roadster approach of I'm going to sell a $16 burger, and now it's come down to the $35,000 car or the whatever it is at Carl's Jr. It's the
Which
same
means
thing.
we're a lot farther away than your $10,000 your just a very baseline consumable.
Right. Are we going to have an autonomous hamburger anytime soon? I don't know.
No.
Bill Gates is an investor in both Beyond and Impossible.
Ooh, interesting.
Oh, makes sense. Beyond Meat, they say, has a now 26,000 square foot plant in California, making upwards of 25 million burgers.
Making burger.
That's a lot. That's a lot of fake meat. A carbon dioxide catcher, of course. There's a green gas element to this. Global warming. It seems like there are some advances into just engineering solutions to capture CO2.
I think this is one of those sort of like a magic diet pill where it sounds great, like, oh, we can just keep driving and we can keep eating our hamburgers and we can keep doing all of these things if we just have these machines to then counteract all of that. But I think that's still kind of, while it's great, I don't see it scaling to really make any dent in, greenhouse
systemic.
gases.
That's the whole point of the New Green Deal, right? Systemic changes are needed. It's not any one.
Right.
It's not flying less or not using an SUV. People are going to do those anyway.
Right.
It's like there are big,
huge changes.
And
I would love a magic pill.
And economic incentives.
Right.
I think the big thing is economic incentives.
Right. Because that's really the only thing that's going to move a populace, not just, say, hey, drive less.
Follow
less.
the money.
Yeah.
Here goes your watch, your ECG on your wrist.
Yep.
Yeah.
Your fitness tracker that will also measure
Big data.
a lot more.
It's just big data. Collect more data, give me more info. It's all a numbers game. That's what medicine is these days. It's, whether it's cancer treatment or, heart health or any of those things, it's all just capturing data and studies and basically applying those studies. So the more studies we can do, and if we're all part of a, data set, then that information just gets better.
And then last sanitation without sewers, something that people don't think about. If you don't have pipes, you don't have infrastructure, how do you have a new type of toilet that's cheap enough but also can be clean enough for people to use globally? That seems, again, very much like one of those X Prize.
Dean Kamen was making a water purifier.
Yes, so in that very same vein, right? This is.
Well, I think, people are focused on a lot on the input, not the output.
There you go.
So, yeah.
I've spoken like an engineer. Well done. And then last one, a lot more this consumer-facing, smooth-talking AI assistants.
Smooth talking.
Smarter,
Yeah.
more
Give me that.
conversational.
Give me that.
Yeah.
Will be replaced soon. They'll just be 3 Google Assistants up here.
I really like that of all these things on this list, only 2 of them really are consumer electronics based, right? Your AI assistants and your smartwatches. And I'm glad that the breakthrough technologies that have been identified by someone like Bill Gates, who takes a big
Sure.
view, and someone who has worked just in consumer electronics and consumer software space, the things that he thinks will matter are big picture items.
Well, I mean, I think part of it is the last however many years he's been out of tech and been more into global health and, malaria and sort of more global issues. So that has definitely broadened his spectrum of interest.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm curious why there was nothing about transport here. I mean, I'm not even talking about autonomous cars, but just solving
the systemic problem of the
mass
high
transit.
energy cost of mass transit. So
exactly.
trains and planes and all those areas which are ripe for advancement.
I'm so glad we didn't see foldable phones on this list. That was not going to be a breakthrough technology of 2019. Bendable OLEDs. And also not going to be a breakthrough technology of 2019, because I don't think it's going to come out in 2019, USB 4.
Oh, Jesus.
USB 4.
Now, you missed our USB 3.2 discussion last week, Jeremy. I don't think I want to recap it, because your head...
it's not a happy discussion.
hurts.
All of USB, I mean, USB is lovely. From a consumer perspective, it's wonderful. From a developer perspective, it's an absolute nightmare. And trying to actually produce a product that meets a spec. I mean, and part of it is half the companies just say, I'm not going to meet the spec. I don't even care. It used to be that you had to have a little sticker on your product that said, USB approved or whatever it was. And nowadays, people plug anything in their USB, they don't even think about it. So from a consumer side, it's just like, more, better, faster. But from an engineering side, it's okay, how much current can I draw? How much voltage is going to be there? What voltage rails do I have to work with? I love the fact that I have more bandwidth and more voltage and more current. Like, that's fine. But the problem is, if they're using the same plug and they're plugging, I can't then design a product that always expects a higher voltage rail or more than, say, 2 amps of power. And because the consumer doesn't know any better, they're just going to assume it works. And then when it fails...
that's the catch-22 of USB, right? Like they've built this legacy of the port that just works, and now it's incredibly convoluted and complex. Yeah. Not just the naming schemes, but just the standards within the standard.
And there's no standard. I mean, that's the thing. It's not a standard anymore. It's just, there's a square in my computer that I can stick something in, and maybe it'll work.
And presumably USB-C as a port was supposed to change all that, but then they're having no standards there.
I have USB-C cables with a USB-A on the other end. Like, that's it's
You're never going to get away with that USB-A port.
Yeah.
Well, USB 4, which is going to move past USB 3.2 Gen 3... I'm sorry, Gen 2X2.
X2, right?
Gen 2X2 will have a baseline of 40 gigabits per second bandwidth, plus also incorporate Intel's Thunderbolt 3 standard, which they're going to finally open up. So Thunderbolt 3.
So shove Thunderbolt onto a USB cable.
Yes.
And okay.
What will the port look like?
To be determined.
Don't know.
Yeah, probably USB-C.
Okay. There you go. We don't know about power yet.
No. What is the max USB-C? How much current can you get through there?
Well, it has different voltages.
Yeah, it has different rails. I forget what they are. I haven't done a ton with USB-C, but yeah, it depends on which rail you're talking about. And again, there's sort of what you can reliably get, and then what the standard is, and if your port actually meets the standard.
Mm-hmm. Also not on the list, on Bill Gates' list, that is, of the top breakthrough technologies of 2019, but something that's available now, augmented reality, something that we're very into. And of course, there's Magic Leap, and there's HoloLens 2 was a big announcement last week.
Yeah.
Remember Magic Leap when we used it?
Yeah.
There was a demo app for an MBA program And it was their experimental implementation of what would be like to have not a second screen, but a second reality layer to
Shaq loved it.
watching your NBA game.
I put the cord on my dining room table, as I recall.
That's what it was. So you would theoretically be watching your flat screen NBA game or sports game, whatever it is, on your big TV, because that's not going away. And the whole point of augmented reality is it's not taking away from that.
Why
and
not?
It could even be
It might go away.
It might go away because a rectangular projection, right? Whether it's in your headset or in the real world, you would have that's how the game is going to be portrayed as the primary way to enjoy that content. But additionally, to have a second representation of that be a virtual miniature of that with some augmented data, some like using Intel RealSense cameras or however whatever mapping or whatever pre-programmed tracking they have of these players, to then have analytics and insight and commentary on your tabletop. Now, the demo was very limited. It was like one scene that you played out. It's maybe like 20-second video clip plus a replay, essentially. And the data wasn't that interesting. It was visually novel, for sure, but it wasn't enough to give me a sense of the user experience of what it would be like to watch a full 2-hour game while glancing up and down during timeouts to catch replays. Well, we're getting closer to that, because Second Spectrum is a company that has tried a new type of visualization just on the TV, but basically augmented reality overlays. And they're using this with analyzing your 16:9 rectangle, your camera capture.
What?
They've demoed this already. There's a Bucks versus Lakers game in which they, in real time, were able to track players and overlay, as you watch the game on your TV, statistics, and even recognize types of plays that were going on. Like in basketball, there's a pick and roll. One player blocks another player, and then the ball gets passed over them.
Okay.
They can recognize that play happening, and then draw your on-screen overlay. So whereas a commentator would be doing it in a replay and using their on-screen Sharpie, the computer is doing that.
So like if I had this on my phone and I was watching it with you guys and you guys didn't know I had my phone, I could sound like a sports expert.
And you could be the commentator. You could watch on your phone and then go up to the big screen. Go, see what that guy did there? He has a 40% accuracy at this spot. Well, he just blocked this player, and they enacted the pick and pop, and I mean that's what that play was.
That's the promise of the future. That's why people want the AR glasses, so they can just have this all the time.
The knowledge.
This seems much more practical than the AR glasses, because I'm already watching it in the single screen medium.
But is this? I mean, does it unlock anything that a commentator doesn't already give you? I mean, I know from a visual perspective, it's a lot like the overlays on football that shows, okay, here's the first down line, and sort of like it's giving you that information in a more manageable way. So it's sort of like, because
it has
it's an
all
overlay,
data. The commentator's job is to curate and contextualize.
Right.
And so I'm sure over time the feedback loop would give the systems either you the choice to see the data you care about because of a certain stat you care about.
So like what level of how geeky, sports geek do you want? You can turn it up to like ultra, where it's like every single shot tells me what percentage it is.
Exactly.
Or just like turn it way down of like, I
just want to see like a certain score thing. Or for gamblers, right? In Vegas, if you're talking about real-time data, because they analyze and break this stuff and have all their betting down to the minutia. But I bet that even algorithmically, they could optimize this to do what the commentators did. So pop up and feed the overlays in, because they know at a certain point of the game that's the information people want.
But then you need to have you either need to have multiple tracks, or you need to have some system in the loop. So if this is coming across broadcast television, it doesn't help you. But if it was an app-based kind of thing that was actually overlaid, then it would. So there has to be some tie-in. Which, do we have the infrastructure to even do that?
And then also the usability, the viewability question is this something that viewers can acclimate to? Just talking about the highlighted augmented the first down line, that is something that viewers are now expect, right? It is an augmented piece of augmented reality
Sure.
technology that is ingrained in the way people watch football.
Well, but that's also something that would be there in real life if it was possible.
Well, and they do. They have the markers.
The markers.
And, I mean, there's
exactly.
there are those things. So
It
I guess
just
the question is, do people want this data? Like,
Right.
does that add to the experience, or is it a detraction for the general population?
And on the flip side, you have the example of the NHL puck that was glowy and highlighted, and that became something that people did not want, even though ostensibly on the paper, it enhanced the viewing experience and gave you better clarity
They don't
as to
want
the
that?
action. No, they removed it
That's neat.
very quickly after doing it because that glowing puck was just distracting.
I like the idea of it being an option. If it's a thing you can toggle, fantastic. It looks like a video game mode.
Right, and does it matter if it happens in real time versus in replay mode?
Yeah,
Like-
I want it in real time.
You want it in real time? I don't.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if is that distracting. Like sometimes I just want to see the action for what it is.
I feel you, man. Just turn it off.
Yeah,
Again, we all
I
want
want that
options.
option.
Yeah.
yeah, but very cool. And I do think going back to augmented reality, this makes more practical sense, especially if you're just baking it into the broadcast.
Sure.
And two, as a way to refine those technologies so that it's all going to be there. The layers of data are going to be there to map over whatever.
I mean, and I think we're just going to get used to day-to-day life having access to more data if we want it. And I think that's going to be, how do we get that data, whether it's glasses or whether it's on regular media or whatever it is. I mean, we're already getting there. Like, we're getting to this point where we have access to this data, whether it's just over the internet or second screen watching when you're watching your Walking Dead or whatever it is. Like, all of that is just becoming more and more kind of part of daily life. So.
All right, we're going to wrap up tech news with a bunch of Amazon news. Amazon last week announced what they're calling Project Zero, and they're working with some brands that will solve a big problem that people have with Amazon shopping, and that's counterfeit listings of products. I'm sure both of you had plenty of times where you've bought things that look like they're the thing you're looking for, but they're
Sure.
just mislabeled, or in some cases flat out lies.
Or just never arrive, or, yeah.
And so they know this is a problem. This hurts the reputation of them as a storefront, of their partners who are using Amazon as a storefront. And they have the data with the reviews, so they're going to allow those manufacturers to flag objects and then even remove the listings on their own.
It's an interesting one because if they're relying on reviews, the problem is there's also fake reviews.
Yeah, and I don't think they're solely. I mean, I think reviews are just one data point for them
Right.
to flag.
Sure.
Like if you're selling,
If there's enough calls to their feedback line, enough returns, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, then it's
It's just a little dangerous, for if they're going to give them the keys to the castle like that. I mean, they could easily lead to
abuse.
companies shutting down competition. That's
Yeah,
legit.
small players.
right, and so it's chosen companies. I'm sure it's big companies where the counterfeit. Maybe there's a rights issue. Whether there's patents involved, or branding. Someone's using
How
your
many
branding.
fake earbuds or there's so many kind of things. But then the question is, do you want to trust Amazon to police that?
Right, and then also the companies there's going to be basically a little wiggle room for tolerance. If they start flagging things and taking down competitors,
Yeah.
they will lose these privileges quickly. Amazon's also offering services to serialize products. So the stock they have, so when you get it, you get a way to actually say you are getting a verified product as verified by Amazon in partnership with
I like that.
this manufacturer. Very interesting. Amazon's also discontinuing dash buttons. Was this ever a good idea?
This is a weird thing, man. This is like item-specific buttons.
Yeah.
It was the big buy it now button.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me.
Well, it was before, all the assistants. I won't say the name, but it started that process of like I'm going to have a piece of technology in my house that makes the buying process a little bit easier.
And whether it was for detergent that you would put this button right
Sure.
by your laundry machine, it would be easier than
Saying
opening up
hey,
an app. Exactly.
or yeah,
I don't-
exactly.
Dude, it clearly was a bad idea. No, nobody bought
Nobody,
them.
no. Well, you didn't have to buy them.
It's a boardroom idea, right? Like you can see somebody saying, "What if we had a button
That's it.
and all you had to do was press it when you run out of detergent and you get sent more detergent?"
From an engineering perspective, I was super fascinated with them. Like the fact that they could make them as cheap as they did, and the fact that they joined your network as the way that they did, and like from a product, it was like, oh, this is really clever. But from an overall experience and like a need,
Well, I think there's missed opportunities because they had to be that cheap by necessity, and there was no feedback whatsoever. Even your smart assistant devices have feedback to confirm the orders
right.
and let you track them. But also the opportunity for this is a way for them to get a product into your house, a branded Tide, Puck product, whatever, your Gain detergent. But a way for them to entice you to buy more.
Sure.
Right?
Because I have a thing that I can just push and it's right there.
And there are opportunities for them to somehow flag the way these smart assistants work, especially ones with screens. Open them, and you can have $5 off if you buy this thing now.
So here's a question. When was the last time you purchased something through your assistant?
Like weekly.
Really?
Yep.
We have one. I don't think we've ever actually used it for purchases.
It's for this kind of thing when we're in the laundry room or the kitchen and we run out of garbage bags.
Yeah.
We say,
device,
order more garbage bags.
So as you don't care that the price may have changed or that you don't try to shop every time.
For garbage bags?
Sometimes I like to know when I'm out of garbage bags what the last time I bought them was.
This is an insight into Norm's
and
purchasing.
Whether they've increased the price by $10. Maybe I should shop for a different brand of garbage bags.
You have a child now. You can't pay attention to that.
And I was about to say I have used this
for diapers,
for diapers and formula are the two things.
But do you shop around? Are you like, well,
no,
these diapers
because
are?
I need those now.
You can't use your brain on that.
I need
kind of
those,
decision power.
and I am going to trust that they're not going to gouge me.
Yeah.
And that's going to arrive in 2 days.
And it's a brand. It's a one that you like because you ordered it before.
Right.
So there it comes.
Sometimes supply changes. Sometimes there might be a better one. For a garbage bag, I'm going to buy them once every couple of months. There might be a new color.
This last Amazon bit of news better be that they are improving their courier service.
Oh.
It is not. It is not.
Then I don't care.
This is number 8 on Jeremy's list of frustrations.
So Amazon is concerned with their carbon footprint. And the cost of convenience.
No, they're not.
They say they
They
are.
say they
They say they are. Or they acknowledge that certain customers are concerned about the carbon footprint of Amazon.
Oh my God.
They have a
So,
PR person telling them to be concerned about their
This is a way for them to save money.
Maybe. So what they're doing is that for select customers, they can opt into a program where their Prime delivery window is going to, as opposed to being guaranteed 2 days, you'll be guaranteed a delivery day per household once a week.
They've offered me this for a long time now.
Have they?
And I've never opted into
Because
it.
you want the flexibility.
I'm paying for Prime, and I want it to come in 2 days. Especially, like I'm working on projects. It's one of the things I count on now.
Yeah,
is to get these things stat.
Well, they say that this program has already reduced packaging by tens of thousands of boxes, which sounds like a small blip.
If they wanted to
that's
reduce
like
packaging,
5 shipments, right? Tens of thousands of boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would not put a box in a box in a box in a box.
Exactly.
Now, what I do like that solves both problems is they have these delivery centers. We've talked about that before. How they have one in Berkeley.
Yeah.
Spa Hall.
Spa.
And it's fantastic because it gets there like before 8 a.m.
or
Same day sometimes.
Yeah.
And so that saves them gas. It saves me time. And if they had one of those in San Francisco, which apparently isn't out of the question, then that would be fantastic.
Well, especially since
And
they
I would
have
do that.
a Prime same-day shipping distribution center in San Francisco.
I will use my EV. I won't burn any carbon. I will drive to the distribution center. I will pick it up.
Now, they also have that option, even though you pay for Prime shipping, they have the option to incentivize you to choose slower shipping.
I've never been incentivized.
I have done that every time.
What?
Not every time that's reasonable. Anytime I don't need it for 2 days, I do it because
Why?
I will accumulate those digital
Oh my
dollar
God.
back in digital. I will accumulate the Amazon.
We're learning so much
I
today.
had no idea.
Sometimes I don't need something in 2 days. I can take something next week.
I do
it's
do
about
that
planning.
when I travel and no one's going to be home. Then
So it's an
choose-
advantage for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do it.
Yeah, right. I don't want it
Sometimes
sitting on my doorstep.
No rush shipping is totally fine for a lot of
Right.
things. You just got to plan. Don't buy your detergent when you're out of detergent.
One thing I have considered is does the no rush shipping always give you USPS or a good courier? Because if I could avoid getting Amazon's couriers, I might do that. I've always said I would pay a fee not to use their courier.
But would you wait an extra week?
Maybe for the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the incentives work, and I think their studies have shown that those incentives do work. That they're they're dollar
Your
digital.
studies.
Yes, my anecdotal study has said
It's
it
in
works.
this little 2016 paper using data from Amazon Prime showed that customers are likely to select slower shipping if Amazon offered to buy carbon offsets in lieu of 2-day shipping. So if there is some type of extra benefit, people will choose that.
It's because you get the dollar.
I also like having that dollar to pocket that dollar. You pocket enough of those, I can rent a movie.
That's college tuition.
$1 at a time.
Yeah, can I get matching on that a contribution? That does it for technology news. Before we move on to our next segment, I want to thank the sponsor that makes this episode possible, and that's MailChimp. MailChimp is an easy-to-use marketing platform with a name that might make it sound like they only do email, but they do just about everything to help businesses grow. With email, ads, postcards, landing pages, audience management tools, automations, reports, and more, you'll be doing marketing right, because growth looks different to everyone. So MailChimp helps guide you make the right marketing decisions for your business. You can create a customer list, connect an online store, test an email variation, or analyze a marketing report. MailChimp understands that business owners would rather focus on their passion than rather focus on marketing. So they automated the marketing process. And they started just by doing email marketing, but then now they do so much more. You could say they outgrew their name, and now their marketing tools can help you do the same. Go to MailChimp.com to sign up for free and see how MailChimp can help grow your business. MailChimp, they do more than email.
I'm a pinball nerd. Just to my point. Finally, pinball. That makes me very happy. I hesitate to share this news with people because it's early. But
What? A spoiler?
if you have a VR headset and you like pinball, pay attention. Because visual pinball, aka PinMame, has been ported to virtual reality.
Whoa.
So you can play any of the, I want to say hundreds of games that have been remade in visual pinball.
These are user contributions.
These are fan-made, user-made tables that, all of the artwork obviously is photographed, all the geometry is modeled, and they put them all together. This program has been around for over a decade.
Sure.
It's open source, and so somebody took the source and they took the latest beta version of Visual Pinball and they made it in a GL. They used OpenGL and they made it work on Steam VR. So it works on the Rift, the Vive, Windows Mixed Reality.
Does it work on your pinball hardware?
And it does, of course, work with my pinball hardware because that just looks like a gamepad. So people, honestly, there's like 47 people who have downloaded this. So it's really early. It's a small crowd. But if you've got the VR and you've got a knack for pinball, it's typical PC gaming. Like, it's a pain in the butt to set up. You got to install the right things. You got to put things in the right folders. But once you get it working, it's free and it's awesome.
Well, that's great.
Because you can now play 100 games that
Now,
you couldn't. No one's played the classics yet in VR. And for me, this is a real taste of the future. I mean, like we've talked about how in the VR future, augmented reality future, you'll have arcade games, but it's always been difficult to imagine what it'd be like to have a pinball machine.
right.
You
Now,
know?
how do you feel about, I mean, I wouldn't call this pirating, but it is taking somebody else's work and bringing it in and giving it to people, to the masses. Does that feel?
It's just like MAME.
Yeah.
And people play Asteroids and Gauntlet
Sure.
and Joust all the time.
Absolutely.
And even Stern Pinball has said they're the main manufacturer still in the game. They have said numerous times, go ahead, emulate the old games all you want. We're not going to remake those.
Okay.
But just stay away from the new stuff. And so by and large they do. There are people are working on remaking the new games, but I don't even know how to get them working. It's much more complicated.
Right. Well,
But the classics, you're talking about the Williams games from the 90s, it's like it's all there and they look good. Like, and whereas they don't look as good as like as they would if one of the majors remade them. Like Pinball Effects, Zen Pinball, they're remaking a lot of the classics right now in 2D. And a lot of people are trying to get them to make VR versions, but they're just in 2D so far. And they don't look as good as that. So if they ever were to go VR, that would be
Geometry, real model.
where to go. Yeah, like beautiful renders.
But the fans are doing it.
But so these are all fan-made. The physics are good. So it's like more about like the behavior of the ball. It's all solid. And it's just really good. So just Google it. Visual Pinball MAME. Check Reddit. There's a list of the things you need to do to get working. Highly recommended. It's a taste of the future.
That's great.
I'm excited for it. What are we doing next?
VR Minute. Let's do it.
The VR Minute. Virtual reality this week.
Couple of things in anticipation of GDC, which is in just like 2
Moments
and a half,
away.
3 weeks from now. 3 weeks from now, maybe less by the
2
time
weeks.
you're listening to this.
Right.
The week of the 18th.
Yeah.
Yeah. We anticipate a lot of VR games be demoed there. But before GDC, we will also see the release of the first Beat Saber music pack.
Yeah, it's coming up on the 14th, right?
Yes. 3/14. Now, Beat Saber, possibly the biggest success in VR last year.
I thought Job Simulator was the biggest success.
Last year. I meant last year. This past year.
Beat Saber is big, man. It found a home in the arcades.
Yeah. They've built out location-based Beat Saber experiences. It's on all the platforms. People have made their own tracks, and now, if you like the style of the music of the first release, you may like their upcoming DLC.
Though they
release.
keep breaking, if you've loaded any of the custom tracks, every upgrade, you have to go back through and fix the any custom tracks you put in there.
Oh, I haven't done custom tracks.
Oh yeah.
Have you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's hot in our house.
Do they play well?
Like any fan-made content, there's good and bad, but
Yeah.
there's some really good ones in there, and definitely adds to the experience. I'm sure from a licensing standpoint, a lot of people are using, real songs in their in their custom-made packs. So, they kind of have to break them probably from a legal standpoint, but it definitely adds to the game, and it's, yeah.
I'll be curious how their DLC works, because as far as I know, Oculus does not support DLC in their store. And so people who have incorporated it have had to do it themselves.
It's not a smooth. There's not just a add-on to this particular piece of software. So maybe it
You'd
will
have
be,
to just revamp the game or a separate SKU.
or it's internal, or it's actually inside the game.
That's what I mean. Like it's their own storefront that's inside their own game. But they're on Steam, right? I mean, they're on other
Right.
platforms.
Steam is much more.
Yeah, Steam's
Convenient for that.
definitely got that all figured out. Have you guys played Oculus Go this week? You don't have an Oculus
I don't
Go.
have a Go. I just have a Rift.
Not this past week.
They released a couple updates that broke a lot of people's stuff. 24 hours ago. If your system update coincided with the new UI update, people are having major problems.
System as in Windows system?
No, as in like the firmware.
Oh, firmware.
They released an update, a visual update along with a firmware update. And apparently the visual update has caused some people to have like 15-second wait times between hitting a button and anything happening. Lots of rebooting, instability, the thing doesn't work, lots of contacting support's being quiet. It's a short, turnaround in terms of like having a problem and expecting a solution, but...
And this seems to be 1 year almost to the day after the great outage of 2018.
when
Where Rift outage.
on Rift, you
Yeah.
mean? Yeah, where people got a poster.
And got the $15.
Yeah,
That's
the
right.
credit.
Credit.
Yeah, that's actually, I bought Beat Saber with that credit. I did. I pre-ordered it.
That credit actually goes away, I think, after a year, so people should spend it.
Oh, I didn't. No, it doesn't go away.
It does go away. People have been posting saying that
It
don't
went
forget
away?
don't forget about the credit in the fine print.
You know what I'm gonna buy? I'm gonna buy arcade games and that arcade thing on Go.
Oh, nice.
You
Yeah.
know- yeah, I'm gonna buy Joust.
Boneworks. These are the Stress Level Zero people who made Hover Junkers, and they have been teasing this. We played a early version of it last year at GDC, but they're kind of experimental physics engine for VR, based on lessons they had from both Hover Junkers and also their Duck Season game. And it looks like a sandbox, almost like Gary's Mod style sandbox, where you can experiment with their weapons, their combat, their IK, but there apparently will be a story.
I think that's
a
just-
Portal-like story.
That's the tech demo side of things they're showing
Right.
people. they're claiming, I mean, the promise is big. They're claiming that they are combining all the lessons everyone's learned from VR, right? Like climbing, shooting mechanics.
Yep.
Everything in the game is a physics object.
Yeah.
And everything can be used and
Manipulated.
grabbed, and you can like grab a bar and pull yourself along it, or you can grab a sword from different positions. You can throw things. The throwing accuracy is natural.
And they
sounds
know
great.
what people are responding to and have responded to. Things like that physicality of climbing, and also the physics-based weapons of that kind of that medieval.
Gorn?
No, there's Gorn, but there's also this other one, and I think that's I think people have their VR legs and want these things now, and you still are kind of limited by some of the touch controls.
I just, my continual concern, and I may be in the minority, is still motion sickness. Like even some of the most motion sick friendly games still get me.
Really?
Yeah. No, there's just something about not having it be perfect. I'm just super sensitive to it. So,
have you ever tried Jet Island?
No.
I love that game.
It sounds like I would throw up in like 2 seconds.
I think you would, but it's so intense.
Yeah.
It is just lovely.
My daughter likes to load those games up and say, "Hey, Dad, try this," and it's like some roller coaster thing, and I'm just like,
"Oh, that's mean."
It really is. She has a mean streak, but she gets it from me, so it comes natural.
Sit down in this chair.
Yeah,
and
right.
Load this up and then spin you real quickly. When I was gone 2 weeks ago, did you guys talk about that leaked letter on that? In the book that was coming out?
We did.
Have you guys read the book?
I'm into chapter 1.
How is it so far?
Having
lived through it.
It's good. I think I'm going to come away with it liking Palmer more, which I didn't expect because of the way that he exited and that whole thing with Nimble America. But I'm learning more about his roots at this point. I'm already like, I really want to hang out with this guy. He's into some cool stuff. He's like got some similar interests.
Just a few not so similar interests, but other than that,
exactly. I don't know. It's just that, and I from what I understand, the book is largely about his time there and his arc, and it concludes when he leaves. So I'll be curious to see how I feel at the end of it. But I'm enjoying it. I've got a lot of pages left.
I have the audiobook. I'm gonna go listen to it on my.
How do you like the reader?
No, I haven't listened to it.
Okay,
yet.
you haven't started.
I just own the audiobook.
Yeah,
it will be for my next trip.
Did you use your Amazon bucks for that?
I did.
Yeah,
I did. I think that does it for then the VR Minute and for the podcast this week. Any fun things you guys have been testing, building?
I'm making a cool thing. Yeah, I mean it's not like a tested thing, but we were at Pinball League right a couple weeks ago, as one is on Wednesday night, and a friend of mine who I operated Ghostbusters with said, "What can we do to make Ghostbusters cool?" And
not that it's not cool already.
It's super cool. It's like it's well earned to back its money. We're just like, what could we do to make it cooler? And I said, why don't we put a TV on the top that's always playing Ghostbusters? What? And I just wanted to put a TV up there, but he was like, no, it has to be 80s. It has to look from the decade. So I took a $70 LCD HDMI monitor from Amazon, and I laser cut and 3D print all the materials to make it look like an old 1980s TV.
The bezel.
It's the bezel. It's got a dials.
Does it have rabbit
panel,
ears?
Speaker grill, rabbit ears.
Yes.
How did you make this screen? Did you have a curved?
I didn't do a curve. I looked into doing like a lenticular thing, so it would look like it had curve, but I decided not to. This is how it looks.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, rabbit ears and the whole bit.
Wow, for everybody at home, this looks
how
really
big
good.
is that?
The whole screen is a 9-inch screen.
Okay.
So this one's
Small
probably
miniature
4 or
TV.
5.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's a Raspberry Pi Zero on the back.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And so it'll play real Ghostbusters?
That's all it will ever do. It will play
Endless
Ghostbusters,
loop.
and then it will play Ghostbusters again. 1 and 2.
Oh, the movies, not the cartoon. Got it.
I could do the cartoon.
Real Ghostbusters.
But the game is only about the 2 movies.
That's true. But the art is cartoonish.
So it's going to be a topper. It's going to run off pinball power, put it up there, turn on the game. It will turn on the movies.
Wow,
I like that
that's
your
really
enhancements not only are fun projects, but they become a track mode toys to get people to play your game that you were operating.
Got to make that money.
Your marketing.
Yeah.
Engineering
It's
some
great.
marketing.
That's so good.
And where else can you play a Ghostbusters pinball machine with playing Ghostbusters?
Nowhere else.
Nowhere.
Only at Free Gold Watch in San Francisco.
There you go. Zach, any fun projects, things?
We already talked about my plasma cutter. That's my big build for personal stuff, and I'm excited about that. And
You brought in a soldering kit that
I carry it with me wherever I go.
Yes.
I think Jeremy did a review on the site of the little TS80 soldering iron, and I do enough soldering where I carry a little battery pack and kind of my whole little setup just around with me. And you never know when somebody needs a little extra solder. I mean, I think our headphones could probably use a little.
I
sense.
bet they could. Yeah, get rid of that 60 hertz.
That's 60 hertz, exactly.
Yes,
make my other ear work. So.
I love that you have everything in an Altoids tin. Oh.
Yeah, well, otherwise you get those little bits of solder, and you don't want that mixed up with your personal goods. So keeps it all nice and clean.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, that does it for this week's episode. We'll be back next week with yet another episode. If there's breaking news that happened the past 2 days, world-changing news.
Oh, this is still coming out on Thursday?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
coming out
gosh.
Thursday.
All
We apologize, and we'll talk about it next week. We got an outro this week?
From Imperialist Rex.
Hi there, I didn't see you. I need to relax now. Shoelaces untightened just a little bit.
Oh my god, that's amazing. How's that happening?
What the heck is going on? Oh, wow. Dude, that's a lot of blood.
Kishore. This is unfortunate. This is not good science. Make it so, Lego.
Nice.
That's editing.
Well done.